This is the monument to the railway station at Treblinka, which was built in 2020. The road which we have next to this monument is the road on which the railway tracks once ran. Indeed, the road, it was a road and a railway track together. There's another black road over here, I call it because of the asphalt colour. That was built by the Germans probably around 1940. Let's not forget that from 1939 to 1941, the border between occupied Poland, that is to say Nazi Germany, and occupied Poland, that is to say the Soviet Union, wasn't all that far from here. The River Bug from here is about 2 kilometers, something like that, 2.5 kilometers, and beyond that, the Bug didn't form the border here, but the border was at Ostrów Mazowiecka, so it's 15 kilometers maximum to the border. Now this location here was the location of sidings at which the trains with the deportees marked for death were kept here. And this, it seems extremely peaceful and almost idyllic on a July day like today. But if we go back, in this case 82 years, to imagine a day like today, July 1942. Now the first train came past here with people to be murdered in Treblinka on the 23rd of July 1942, collected in the Warsaw ghetto on the day previously, 22nd of July. And the trains, because of the amount of trains which were ordered by Irmfried Eberle, who was the commandant of Treblinka. I've done a separate video on him and there'll be a link to it below. He was unable to manage to organize the death transports. So the transports ended up having to wait because there wasn't the facilities to kill so many people in one go. And so they ended up waiting, above all, at this location where I'm standing right now. Now, if the monument were not here, you possibly wouldn't even feel that there was anything special about this location. And the monument is very recent at the time I'm doing this. The railway station itself, as we normally saw at the railway station with the buildings, the ticket hall and all the rest of it, is through there. That still stands. There's people living in it right now, and I filmed it anyway. I got the impression that people were looking at me when I was filming it there, but then again, I mean, somebody's filming somebody's house, I suppose it's to be understood. So here, this location, now we've got the village of Treblinka, which is it's sort of dispersed over various points, but here we have houses right next to it, and you can see some of these houses are certainly old enough to have existed in the times this railway siding was here. And this created the circumstances for people here who could see what was happening, and here people who were condemned to death, and they had been taken out of the ghettos where they may have been starved for 2 years. I mean, starved a very limited amount of calories for 2 years, and then with a journey which might have lasted being relatively quick, only a few hours. But in the heat of the summer, the dreadful heat inside the railway carriages, which could have contained as many as 200 people, so that's approximately equivalent of being what it's like in an underground, in the metro system during rush hour, pushed in like that, but without the benefits of air conditioning and it stopping every so often and the doors opening, in terrible conditions of heat. And therefore, people who were forced, they didn't take water with them. Very rarely, I would believe, that people even had water on them. And just to put this into context, day before yesterday, it was 34 degrees. I drank 5 litres of water. And I'm in my motorhome. I'm travelling around. I'm taking showers every 4 or 5 hours. These people didn't have things like that. It must have been. What is clear is that somewhat clearly driven mad by thirst above all. And even from people like Franz Suchomel, who was a guard here, he told Cloud Landsman that it were trains that half the people who arrived were dead on arrival. We have from other reports the people saying that just about everybody was dead on arrival here, pushing so many people in to such small spaces with such little air coming in the heat of summer, no water, no facilities, no nothing. We do know that there are cases where even the SS allowed people to come out and give to give water to people, but that was the exception rather than the rule. Now, somewhere here there stood a water pipe, as you would get. I mean, in those days, not only that, because people drank from fountains above all, and there was a water pump. You pumped the. Still see quite a lot of them. I mean, I sometimes use them myself. And another thing is there may have been a facility for water for the train, and that I don't know if that existed at Treblinka or not. But those days, of course, the trains took huge amounts of water because to create the steam. So there were people though who tried to sell water, and then we've got accounts of water being sold for as much as 100 zloty a bottle, which 100 zloty then would be what? Before the war, that was equivalent of a very good salary monthly. Well, in fact, people were paid weekly in those days, but it was a lot of money. At Beaujets, there was somebody called the Millionaire of Beaujets. He gave water to people waiting at the similar place to this, and in the sidings. He was called the Millionaire of Beaujets. Anyway, but not everybody did it for reasons of trying to make themselves more wealthy. We have this gentleman here. Jan Maletka was 21 years old. I believe that he worked at the station. So he was shot. It says here murdered by the Germans, although I think the people who shot him were probably Soviets rather than... but they're working for the German government, Nazi German government. 20th of August 1942. What he tried to do was to get water and give it to them. Now, we do have accounts of people trying to get water out of ditches just to give the people something, anything. Once they were in these trains. Now, the trains often did have a hole which was covered by a grill, and the grill in turn had barbed wire around it. And this question of what help people could give was, it was very, very difficult. And I think Shoah Landsman's got his own agenda, or had his own agenda, which I can say from experience wasn't always the case. Let's put it that way, anyway. And there is anti-Semitism in Poland even today. I mean, and probably was far worse. They've got to bear in mind you've got the church saying all these nasty things, and this hatred which has gone on for hundreds of years. But there were people also that risked their lives, and in Poland you could be killed for assistance to a Jew. That was it. There were posters put up. It was absolutely clear. It carried the death penalty, and it could also, in the countryside, it could carry the death penalty for the entire family, and the house destroyed, where if people were hiding Jews, and that thing that has to be borne in mind. And Jan here, he gave his life for this purpose. Now I'm doing videos here on the which I hope I'll finish one day, because I know it takes me a long time to do anything, but on the staff at the railway station, which was here. And so if you're interested in this sort of thing, Holocaust is my specialist subject. I travel around places like this, and so if you're interested, then you might want to subscribe. The question of anti-Semitism is something I do want to return to, and I think that Landsman, when he did show up, was trying to reinforce this by some of the questions which had nothing to do with history, but he was trying to get people to say things, I think. For example, asking them, there was an incident that happened here, and he asked one of the locals at this very point where I'm standing right now, and he said, in it, the person describes a scene where a person got out of one of the wagons, and he told the guard to shoot him. Whether he was German or whether he came from the Soviet Union, I don't know. He said to shoot him. And so the guard shot him. And the local said that he was a coward. He was a coward. And Landsman then started going off on a theoretical argument about what had happened before. Now, this, in my opinion, is not relevant to the history. If it's doing with their history, then leave it with the what actually happened, but not to try and get somebody's opinion, which in this case is not really relevant to what he was trying to do. Anyway, I'll deal with Landsman's bias in another video, but for the moment, thanks for watching. You can see here the railway line. This ditch, I think this was largely built for, or at least it was excavated further for the use by the roads, because when the roads are built here, they're largely built on a higher level because the ground is so wet. And but I don't remember the railway line here because it was taken up in 1993, but I do remember the road and the condition as it used to be in. Anyway, for the moment, thanks for watching, and all the best from me in Treblinka.